Hello, everybody. Adam Parks here with another episode of Receivables Roundtable. Today, I am here with my friend Ken Peck with Valor Intelligent Processing. How you doing today, Ken?
I am doing great. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Another day in paradise. Can't complain here in South Florida. I know most of our viewers have got to be familiar with you through all of the different speaking engagements that you do and your general LinkedIn presence. But for anybody that's not familiar with you, can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got to the seat that you're in today?
Yeah. So again, I have been in the collection space for now a little over 24 years. Again, hopefully it doesn't show on my face, but again, it does show with the hairline. But I literally I just had a passion for helping people. It first started off as a challenge, starting at a collection agency in Chicago. It happened by fate. I literally was sitting there at an open house and I filled out application because I was bored. And before you know it, here I am calling and collecting on past due receivables, and have been doing it ever since. But I've always been the nosy. I always want to learn more. So I always hung out with people that were of a higher level than me, because again, I always wanted to know what they did. And as an agent, I used to watch the manager that sat in the office and always felt like, oh my God, they don't do crap. And when I get in that office, I am going to change the world. And I worked my butt off to get to that opportunity, in that position to do that. So again, I as I go out and I talk to, supervisors, team leads, and I always tell them that it's some of the hardest positions to actually be in, because they don't give you, a lot of times we don't give the true story of what it takes to actually start off as a supervisor. We just give that you get a business card and, oh my God, you go home, you tell your family and your friends, and it just sounds great, but they don't tell you now you're responsible for a group of people. Oh, by the way, you got to make sure that they come to work. Oh, by the way, again, this can mess with your bonus when you were a top agent and taking home your own money. But I always tell them that it's a part of a process. It's a part of a growth. And so the great thing that I love being able to mentor and help individuals so they understand that that's just a part of the platform. Because I tell people I've been rejected, I've been promoted, I've been demoted, I've been fired. Shoot, I think I've been promoted, demoted, fired at the same company at one point in my life. But I never stopped because I had a passion, I had a growth. And then being able to have that connection to talk and help people, it just made the job easier. In the past due receivables, I do believe that we've been given a black eye. And, I try to change that, for the people that are in the industry, but really for the people that are not in the industry. Because without us, man, the economy goes into a whole nother tailspin. So that's where my passion lies. So when I'm going out and I'm speaking, and when the opportunity presented itself, I was moved and relocated to the beautiful state of Texas. So living in the Dallas area for now over 7 years, this has been a great part of my journey and my life. So that's kind of a little bit of me and a sum.
So there's nothing like learning this industry from the ground up. And I love the way that you talk about, trying to educate people outside of the industry as well, because interest rates, availability of credit. I mean, there's so many different things that change in an economy if the receivables management industry is unable to do its job, right?
Yep.
Like, and collect. Why lend money if you can't ever collect it?
Exactly.
But now you're with Valor Intelligent Processing, an organization that I'm personally familiar with. Can you tell everybody a little bit about Valor and what you guys do over there?
So Valor, we're past due receivables collecting on the BPO, first party, third party side. Again, the president COO is Gordon Beck, who I've known personally for really over 10 years, and it's just by fate that the opportunity presented itself. Again, he and I have spoken at different conferences where he may have been on the front end, I may have been on the back end. We've competed against each other to where either I've made him have long nights or he's made me have long nights. We knew it was just going to be an opportunity. So with his passion and And my passion, it only made sense that it wasn't a matter of if, it was just a matter of when we were going to be able to come together and really do something dynamic. So Valor is really, they've been in business, you know, really going on 3 years, but this is a growth that we're just moving higher and higher. And the thing that we love to say, and I don't know if Gordon stole it from me, if I stole it from him, but I've always used it. So I always say that he stole it from me. Well, with any of our clients, we believe, we have that motto: if you ain't first, you're last. Ricky Bobby. And we make sure that when we're coming in and we're going to represent a client, that we're going to come out the gates and we're going to not just do it and be in first place, but we're going to do it the right way. And so Valor, I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to be here, to be able to help be a part of something special that is continuing to grow.
That's fantastic. I've had the opportunity to know both you now for some time. I've known Gordon for many, many years, and he was one of my early guests on this video series. Now, the reason I wanted to have you on today, right, is because we were, as we were preparing for ACA Ignite. You were talking about being a motivational speaker, and I've had the privilege of seeing you speak in person when you did Collector Live back in, I want to say it was 2020. And I was kind of blown away to the point where I kind of ran up to you afterwards, and I don't even know if you remember it, and was like, wow, that was just an amazing presentation. I liked your stage presence. I liked your messaging, and really liked the way in which you delivered that messaging. And so when you said that you do like motivational speaking both inside and outside of the industry, it kind of piqued my interest. And I said, okay, I want to learn more. And so this is one of those instances on this series where I don't really know the answers in advance here. But I wanted to talk, like, what got you into the motivational speaking side of things? Like what prompted you to start kind of that part of your life?
So the funny story is that I've been doing it all my life, and I just didn't realize it. So I've always been the person that when people come in, they want to talk to me, I try to help them out, and try to give them the counsel on how to go after their dreams, their goals. And a few years ago, and I give her credit. She was stuck. She didn't know what she wanted to do in her life, and I'm telling her to go after her purpose. And she said, "What's your purpose, kid? What are you supposed to be doing?" And I went, wow, nobody ever asked me that. And she said, you should do a YouTube video. And so I did my first YouTube video. I think I had like 500 views. I thought I was a superstar. And then I did another one and it turned into 5,000. Then I did another one, it turned into 10. Then another one turned into 50,000, then 100,000. I've always had that passion for helping. My father, rest in peace. He was a minister, so I'd already had that passion for listening to people, giving that inspiration, and I've always wanted to help people fulfill and see their purpose, because I've always felt that everyone has a purpose and the reason on why they're on this earth. And I always make sure that people understand that leadership is not a position, it's about action, and it's about mastering your gift. And once you master your gift, people quickly come knocking on your door because they want to know how to get to where it is you are, or they want the service that you're offering. You just have to be able to master what it is that you do. And that's what I try to go out and I try to spread. And that's a mixture within the collection industry, and also just going out, speaking to schools, and speaking to just individuals that are looking to, how do I get to that next level?
What an interesting kind of background to that, right? And I think the minister, as you say that, like I start to identify that in the way in which you kind of present yourself, and the language and your actual delivery of your message, which I think is really just very interesting. So are you still creating YouTube videos and kind of doing it in a general perspective?
Yeah, I have not really done a lot since I've been here, really getting my feet wet and moving quickly with Valor, helping Valor grow. But I do, on the weekends, I do spend time still speaking at little smaller events. But yeah, I actually have it on my to-do list to create another video in regards to about opportunity. So But those are that's the passion. I do that for fun. I do that just because, again, if it's there and I think about it, I put it together and it's snippets of an entire, 45-minute presentation that I may just give a 1 minute, 1.5 minute snippet of what I'm actually talk about.
Very interesting. So you're doing kind of the bite-sized content, which I think is really important these days.
Yep.
People are looking for shorter bits of content that they can kind of digest and look for the next one, which I think has led to the rise of certain social media platforms like TikTok and
Yep.
Instagram Reels and those kinds of things. So that's really interesting. I find YouTube that is a little bit more long form content, and there's
Yep.
definitely different ways to kind of leverage those snippets. So when you say that you're speaking at these other, smaller events, like what kind of events are you finding yourself participating in?
It could be sporting events where I'm out there motivating children, athletes. It could be a school event. It could be the nonprofit organization where I'm helping young men in regards to what it is to be a young man or young ladies, on what it is to go into the workplace. It could just be a combination of all. Again, what I'm trying to preach and what I'm trying to, and I said preach, man. So my colleague Lucretia she calls me the preacher, and I can't believe I just used that word. So, oh my God. So we got to edit that out so she don't hear that, because she said, I told you. But what I try to is I want them to figure out what their why is. And because once they figure out their why, their how is going to take care of itself. And I tell that to the people I talk to. I tell that to you. I tell that to anyone, because a lot of times I think we get wrapped up into, how am I going to pay for college? How am I going to start this business? How am I going to, and you're so focused on that you lose the fact on why it's important for you to do that. But once you discover that why, everything else takes care of itself.
That's a really interesting approach. And, as I kind of sit here thinking about it, I mean, it's incredibly true. Why I do the things that I do, if you don't know the destination, it's hard to figure out how to get there. Right.
Yep.
Like if you don't know where you're going or why you're going there, then the rest of the journey becomes considerably more opaque. It's more difficult to understand that journey, or what your journey would actually look like, or what action items you have to take. So as people figure out their why, and you help them kind of through that exploratory process, are you putting them on any kind of a how path? Like is that where it, like, once they understand their why, are you still part of that process, or is it
Still,
more like, let me help you figure out where you're trying to get to, and then what's that process look like?
It's different levels. It's for those, because I'm that open book. You have that opportunity to reach out to me on LinkedIn, through Facebook, in regards to the levels in which they're looking for. That's what I look to try to inspire and try to help. So again, I've had people reach out to me on LinkedIn 1, 2 in the morning in regards to needing assistance. I literally, on one of my YouTube videos, there's a message from someone who said they wanted to kill themselves. And again, their message just inspired, and it's that short message. So it depends on the levels and what that person is needing at that time. But again, as I said in one of my messages, I'm there to believe in you. And even if you don't believe in yourself, at least you have a heart, literally a head start of something believing. So when you do finally believe in yourself, that belief has already been activated. And now you just got to take it from what I started with and now just make it better.
Wow, what an interesting approach. Now, when you're speaking to I'm sure one-on-one, it's got to be easier, but I'm curious as to how you do that communication in the one-to-many format, right? Like when you're speaking to a larger group, any tips or tricks on engaging a larger group in those discussions, or creating it more of I hesitate to call it a workshop environment, but like, how do you engage their minds in the one-to-many conversation?
As again, is I understand what it is that they're looking for in regards to the world. Everybody that's sitting there they want the riches. They want that. I want to be at the top, but a lot of times they don't realize of the steps that it takes to get to the top. So, and that's explaining the behind the scenes, that being in the kitchen, the being in the basement, and taking the steps up. they see the Steve Harvey on TV, they see the successful person, but they've never seen the one that lived in his car for years. Or they see KFC, Colonel Sanders, but they don't realize that Colonel Sanders, he didn't start his franchise until I believe he was in his 60s. So it's the different things of being able to explain and find out what appetite and how much they're hungry to actually receive what it is I'm delivering.
That's very interesting. And the examples that you use there, like Steve Harvey and Colonel Sanders, are very real. And what an interesting way, through that kind of a explanatory dynamic, to bring that to the forefront in that one-to-many conversation. Because it's always easier to have that conversation one-on-one when you can really dig in on somebody's personal experiences and make it more relatable to an individual. But making that relatable to the masses has got to be a little bit more complex. I'm very interested, and I know what I'm doing tonight. I'll be watching some of your YouTube videos and getting a feel for, how you've been able to execute on that. Because there's very few speakers that I've run up to after a presentation and said, wow, okay, like I need to know you, like this needs to be a friend of mine. So I consider myself very lucky to have had the opportunity to do that and the opportunity to present with you at this point.
Right.
Like to me, that's very exciting, because I think that your dynamic is really unique, and I don't think there's a lot of people that look at it from that perspective. Now, I know that you're doing these other types of speaking engagements. Do you also find the opportunity to engage within your own organization in terms of, I know Gordon's also a very dynamic speaker, but are you having that opportunity internally to try and help your internal teams?
Yeah, that's where it all starts in regards to, again, the changing. The one thing that he brought me in was to help with the culture. And I believe in regards to, as I think it's Denzel Washington that said, each one teach one. So I truly believe in the coaching, training, development dynamic. If I have to hire from outside, then I felt as if I failed inside. So I have a heavy passion for watching someone grow and having their skill set to become transferable, because that's the biggest thing. I want them to have the ability to have the opportunity to do something else if they choose to within our organization, because that's not only helping them, but that's helping our organization. They understand our purpose, they understand our mission. So it's our job, again, to help them master their gift and put them in the right position to be successful for themselves and for Valor.
Well, and you're also getting that opportunity to cultivate individuals, right? And then to watch the actual the growth once it's been cultivated.
Yep.
What a noble way to look at the process. And I think that this is one of those videos that I'm going to point people to when they talk about, that the debt collection industry, and like you said, we have this black eye, but
Right.
this is the kind this to me has been the camaraderie and the growth mindset of the receivables management industry. And I don't think that as an industry, we get enough credit for the growth and opportunity that's provided to those that work in the space. So
Yep.
nothing but respect, Ken. Man, this is such an interesting conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today. I'm really just kind of blown away with your approach to these things and the methodology that you've developed through the years and the way in which you deliver that methodology. So thank you so much for participating.
No, again, I appreciate you for inviting me. Again, I've watched you closely as well. So again, I'm a fan on this side of you. So again, I feel that I'm the one I'm growing, I'm learning. And again, I'm in my mind, I'm learning from people such as yourself. So for it to hear you say that, now I feel like, oh my God, now I got to really get better. And again, but it's exciting. And again, as long as I can reach one person and I can help change somebody's life or change somebody thinking, I felt as if I'm being successful.
Well, when we stop learning, we start dying.
Yep.
And I think it's a mindset that we both share. And
Yep.
so I look forward to our continued discussions and an opportunity to work together towards our own personal growth and learning. For those of you that are watching today, if you have any additional questions that you'd like to ask Ken and I, feel free to leave comments below, both here on LinkedIn and YouTube. We'll be happy to answer any questions or further discussion for you. Ken is a very interesting individual, so if you have additional topics that you'd like to see us cover, please leave those comments below as well. Ken, looking forward to seeing you at upcoming conferences here and getting a chance to, kind of sit down over a cup of coffee and further engage in this discussion, maybe come up with some additional topics that we can share on this podcast. But until next time, man, thank you so much for participating. I really appreciate you coming on.
No, thank you. Again, thank you for having me.
Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, right.